welcome back to Terror by the May. I'm David. Michelle and I are here in lovely Mendocino. I should pan over to see her lounging on the chair in the sun like a cat. It's the last day of our vacation. We check out tomorrow morning. This is not an urgent story, but I had an itch to do a reading and watching a little bit of the news. One of the things that's striking me as odd or troubling is that Mike Johnson has not called Congress back to session to approve additional FEMA funding. It's on several levels. One, apparently there is enough money in FEMA to handle the response to Milton. That's great. And Joe Biden, Kamala Harris have asked for Congress to approve more FEMA funding. And I believe Biden has even said, no, when you come back into session, you can do that. That would be great. And it shouldn't run into an issue in Congress, other than the fact that the Republicans don't want to fund FEMA. And part of Project 2025 is to defund FEMA altogether, which I really wonder how folks in Florida are feeling about that angle these days. And then you'd have to have Republican congressmen voting for disaster aid, the same congressmen who won't vote for disaster aid for other states, notably what happened in New York a few years ago. It just seems like a no-brainer. Now, the urgency is such that, yeah, they've got enough money to get through now. But what if another hurricane hits? FEMA won't have the money at that point. Not only that, from just a public relations point of view, having Congress come back in, the House of Representatives come back in for a special session to approve additional FEMA funding should not be a difficult affair. So since it makes sense from a public relations point of view, it's not a lot of work. It's an expectation of the job. And you can argue there's an urgency to it. So why won't they do it? Purely political. Don't want to give the Democrats a win. And you could probably guess that the Republicans are really hoping that the Biden administration and FEMA fail miserably in their attempts to clean up Florida, which then is something the Republicans would run on for re-election and use to justify the defunding of FEMA. That's the world we live in these days. But I would just want to read on the energy around this and if there's going to be repercussions for that. Because again, if I was a voter in Florida, I would sure as heck be wondering why Congress isn't approving more funding for hurricane relief. Now, granted, Florida is going to get their lion's share of it, and they're going to be fine for this storm. But what about the next hurricane that hits? What if it doesn't hit Florida? What if it hits Georgia or Alabama or Louisiana or blast through North Carolina again? It's not like this is the only storm that's going to happen. If they're lucky, maybe it is. If not, we'll see what happens. But let's look at the energy around this lack of work by Republicans in coming back into session. What's going on and how's that going to work out for them? Okay, this is for entertainment purposes only. Foundation of the reading is the Queen of Pentacles. Trying to be practical with the money. The Republicans always describe themselves as the party of fiscal responsibility, yet they run out more debt than the Democrats ever do. But I think, generally speaking, to come back in and do the funding would be the practical, responsible thing to do. I'm in California. I'm not too worried about hurricanes hitting me. At least not in our current state of climate change. That might change in 20 or 30 years. But right now, that's not a thing. And Florida needs the money. Okay? Reasonable. Crossed with the Queen of Cups and the nostalgia card. Yeah, what's the energy? It would be simple to go in and do that. They don't want to. It politically doesn't benefit them. God forbid the Republican Party show an ounce of empathy. It's not that difficult a thing to do. It might even generate goodwill to the Republican Party if they did something like that with the Florida voters. And maybe that could be the problem, is that they feel like they've got Florida in the bag, so they don't need to do anything special because Floridians are still going to vote for the Republicans. I don't know. There's a naivety, a foolishness that's going on here. In the past, I got the Wheel of Fortune. These storms, they just happen. They're really taking a chance. The Republicans are really taking a chance. Now, mind you, in previous readings, I've said it's amazing watching how many things have gone right for Donald Trump over the last 8 years, and in the last 3 months, 2 to 3 months, how much everything has gone wrong for them. And you're really taking a spin at the wheel when you're on a losing streak, that you might be on another losing streak here. Current situation is the Three of Cups. This is, to me, Americans coming together, helping out fellow Americans when they're down. The support, the mutual support, women closing ranks in this case. This is the time the disasters bring people together. The Republicans like dividing people. That's just what they do, especially Trump. He is not a great uniter. He's a great divider. And if you bring people together, they may not buy into the narrative that you're trying to sell. Overarching energy is the Magician card. Florida's got to be, DeSantis and Florida have to be really careful. And I'm mildly alarmed with this Magician card here. Now, this could be just the illusion that we don't want unity, but you could be manifesting something worse by your failure to act in an empathetic manner. It's a foolish thing to do. The lesson to be learned is the Two of Wands, because it may not be long before the next one comes. The next category storm could be on its way. And all you have to do is approve funding. A little bit of foresight. You have control. And the Magician can also be, he has control over this. DeSantis has control over this. It's okay. Bring Congress together. Bring the House together. Pass the funding. So any storms that come over are addressed. Out comes the Queen of Wands. That could be Mother Nature in this case. Looking forward. Oh, you don't like this, huh? That could be a really, really foolish thing to do. I don't get it. I don't get it. Empathy is not that difficult a thing. But again, I'm not in politics. So I don't have to deal with political fallout on things. It'd probably be why I'd be a lousy politician in today's political climes. Because I'd be looking at fixing things rather than, positioning myself to make my opponent look bad rather than getting stuff done. And politics is just a nasty business anyways. Maybe in the future, where the skies are pink and everybody has a pony and the ponies fart rainbows and stuff like that. Maybe politicians will get along and do things for the betterment of society, but we're not there yet. Okay. And a very spiritual way I'm going to ask, is this going to bite Mike Johnson in the butt prior to the election? More Carter. 4 coins. Holding on to that money. Holding on to things tightly. You better hold on tight, because if this doesn't work out for you, this is going to be really, really bad. 5 of Swords. They're playing for all of it. It's the narcissism card. Win at all costs. Yeah, this is just political. Purely political. 4 of Swords. Here's another thing with that disaster relief he's not taking into account. He's gonna be. The election is happening. People are early voting, and Central Florida just got clobbered. There's going to be, I think, in some ways, there's going to be less turnout in Florida. Is this a political move? Do they not want the disaster relief because if people are out there, they're going to go out and vote? Is he trying? Is this nature's voter suppression? Is that what we're playing at here? I would be curious to know what the demographics are, the voting demographics in the area that got hit by this hurricane. I would suspect that in that middle section where Milton hit, that would be more conservative. That's kind of central Florida. It's not southern Florida and the coast where a lot of the money is, which may be a more liberal area. I'm not sure. I don't know the demographics. But what I'm getting here is, holding on tight, but things going quiet. They need their voters to come out. But if the hurricane impacts voters who aren't their voters, that's great. But if it does impact their voters, that's bad. Johnson's going to pay a price for this. It's almost like, he's going to manifest. It's wild. It's almost like he manifests his own voter suppression. And he's not even in charge of Florida. That's DeSantis's thing. Okay, we got the Page of Pentacles, which is also my grift card here too. I should look at DeSantis too on this one. I would, if I were Johnson. No, Johnson, and I think Johnson's not going to have these guys come back into session. They're going to stay out. There's enough money to take care of it. We don't need to. No, we'll vote on it later. Okay, so then you got Ron DeSantis basically out there ignoring Kamala Harris's phone calls again because you don't want to give the Democrats a win. And, political wins are worth more than thinking about the benefit of the people in your state. How many people need die or suffer longer because of people's political egos? That's just... Where do we stop the bus? When do we get off? Okay. Florida electorate. How is this going to impact Florida voting? These back-to-back storms, a refusal to, by their governor to take calls from the vice president. Leave that one out there because it wants to pop out. The Republican-held Congress not calling in a special session to pass funding, and there's a lot of Florida congressmen that are Republicans. How is this going to impact the voting? I'm going to do a four-carder. And this one wanted to pop out. Four Cups. There are going to be some really dissatisfied people. They don't like what they're seeing. My other signifier is the Three of Coins. The money's not showing up. But this is something that's easily done by Congress. Why won't Congress do their job? By Congress, I mean the House of Representatives in this case. They're supposed to be fighting for us. It's supposed to be an easy thing to do. We have these federal agencies to help us after a hurricane. Taking a chance. There's going to be an energy. There's going to be a pushback for the people who are in charge here. You've done this karmic. You've done this to yourself. Respond normally, and you're on the advantage. Now the people have to fight. Who's going to be fighting for us? Disappointment. Being left out. And the delusions. I think some people are going to be really... they're going to have their eyes opened as to what's important. There's this feeling of disappointment. The Republicans are supposed to help us. We're our elected officials. Where is the federal government? Now, some people could get big mad at the Biden administration, but all they have to do is turn on Ron DeSantis, and DeSantis saying, we don't want their money. For the people impacted? Yeah, we do. What are you talking about? We need to rebuild. They got the engineer with the Masons. Why are you playing games with our lives? You're supposed to be fighting for us, not abandoning us. A lot of people are going to have their eyes opened by this. So, my heart goes out to those people impacted by these past two hurricanes. For those who lost family members, for those who've lost their houses or had their properties damaged. heck, even just having to evacuate and come back, and maybe all you have is drywall damage on the inside of your house, but still, your rugs are destroyed, your drywall is destroyed, your life is kind of a mess right now. You probably don't have clean drinking water, you may not have electricity, and the groups that are out there to help you want to help you, but your local politicians don't want the help. Do you think Ron DeSantis is suffering with all this? No, he's not inconvenienced. What does he care? Think Mike Johnson cares about this? You think he's suffering from this? No. Why would he care? The Florida reps should be jumping up and down screaming that Johnson needs to get something in there. Again, if nothing else, a public relations point of view. But they don't want to do it. They're taking a chance. They're spinning the wheel of fortune here, and they're on a huge losing streak. If they think that this is going to come out as the win that's going to help propel them to a victory in, less than a month's time, got news for them. They are on the wrong side of history, and they're just doing more to feed into a bigger victory for the Democrats. Florida is in play whether the Republicans want to admit it or not, and actions like this by DeSantis is going to push Florida more and more blue to the point where Florida may vote for Kamala Harris, may vote blue, and all of a sudden, all hell's going to break loose in the electoral counts when Florida goes over, because that's like 3 swing states worth of votes. We'll see. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. I hope you found this reading insightful. It is for entertainment purposes only, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.